Picture this: a Mercedes GLS slides past multi-million-dollar homes in the quiet streets of Chevy Chase, Maryland, where well-off teenagers learn advanced coding while their parents debate which Ivy League campus to tour next. But picture this: just 40 miles up on Interstate 95, life in West Baltimore couldn't be any more different, with rows of boarded-up homes withering away as failed local businesses shutter, with the only thing growing faster than the weeds in Baltimore being the number of families moving away. This isn't just the story of two very different Maryland neighborhoods, it's the harsh reality of how DC's massive gravity has utterly transformed almost everything in its orbit, leaving communities along Interstate 495 relishing in Beltway prosperity, while a city like Baltimore, Maryland's largest, is struggling through generations of difficult decline, peaking back in the 1950s just to spend nearly a century painfully giving back almost everything it had gained. But this dystopian contrast between urban and suburban Maryland didn't even have to happen, as the city sits on the Chesapeake Bay between the Piedmont Plateau and the Atlantic coast, with five-star restaurants, the Orioles and Ravens, the Inner Harbor, and a whole host of excellent attractions. But while Baltimore boasts some real city amenities, it's also significantly faded after decades of persistent neglect. So while the Beltway suburbs sitting to its west are out here living their best lives with six-figure median incomes and stacking lucrative federal contracts like poker chips, life in the hollowed core of inner Baltimore, less than an hour's drive away, couldn't be more different, meaning that those 40 miles outside the riches of Beltway proximity might as well be hundreds more. Because when it comes to the benefits of suburban affluence, you're either in or you're out, and the city of Baltimore is definitely out. With its residents stuck, grinding through an economic nightmare, with a shrinking population, grueling disinvestments, and widespread inequality. But what's happening in Maryland isn't just an equality gap, it's a chasm carved out by geography, poverty, and a federal money pipeline that flows straight from the capital's doorstep, leaving the rest of Maryland at least 2 steps behind. Now, on paper, the state of Maryland isn't hurting. No, it's thriving in affluence, wealth, and prosperity, being the nation's 8th smallest state, but ranking top 20 in GDP, while having the nation's 18th largest population, a powerful economy, and proximity to America's most powerful transportation corridor, while Baltimore-Columbia-Townsend ranks as the nation's 12th largest metro, with the massive redevelopment of the Baltimore Peninsula already paying dividends, as Under Armour recently invested more than $70 million building out a new corporate headquarters there. But for all its advantages in geography, history, and economics, Maryland's proximity to capital is what supercharges its wealthy status, holding more Beltway lands than even Virginia while attracting major operations from businesses like Lockheed Martin, Marriott International, Geico, and AstraZeneca, as the benefits of being located in the lucrative DMV are undeniable. But even as Beltway proximity plays a huge role in underwriting Maryland's economic capacity, 60% of the state's population and 80% of its landmass lie outside these counties. If you were to break Maryland down by its unofficial regions, it would look something like this. Western Maryland is sparsely populated, dominated by Appalachian values and impeccable nature. But while Hagerstown and Cumberland are the only real core areas there, Deep Creek Lake is capable of pulling in tourists pretty much year-round. While the capital region is Maryland's economic powerhouse, with the counties of Montgomery and Prince George just buzzing in innovation and investment. With over 2 million residents, the capital region thrives on biotech breakthroughs, federal dollars, and wealthy communities, while traffic and housing costs have become an outright nightmare. Central Maryland is framed around Baltimore, where the suburbs are driving growth, but the city itself is fighting an uphill battle with significant population decline and urban decay, as the sparks of renewal there are overshadowed by boarded-up houses and empty businesses. Southern Maryland is booming, drawing in new residents with better affordability and strong jobs growth, something that can be good and bad news, as sudden growth stuns local services and drives up otherwise fair living costs. While the Eastern Shore blends incredible coastal nature with economic strain and population decline, with a rural economy that's left many young families looking to move away. Somewhere in that breakdown of regional Maryland lies the truth of the state's rise to prominence and success. It's the lack of economic strength outside the state's wealthy suburban corridor. That's to say, Maryland is a growing, wealthy state, but mostly for this corner of the ever-valuable DMV. Something that's astonishing, but not surprising. As if you look here on the map, the wealthiest North American economic cluster isn't made up of tech billionaires in Central California, or these western resort areas built for the ultra-wealthy, or even America's financial center in the Northeast. No, it's the Capital Beltway stretching from northeastern Virginia through DC and into south-central Maryland, when the Maryland counties of Somerset, Garrett, and Allegheny still have broadband adaptation rates of less than 60%, leaving the Marylanders that even have a choice choosing between a costly, complicated, and not-so-commuter-friendly life in the opulent DMV, the South where costs are rising fast, or areas mired by either urban or rural decline. Then again, couldn't that be said about countless other regions? And I'm not just talking about in the US. Just look at northeastern France, the UK Midlands, Germany's Ruhr Valley. I would argue that Rust Belt decline is an international struggle. So I think the point here is that significance is what really matters, as the divide in Maryland is perhaps the most significant in the United States. Though I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments, because there are far too many places struggling right next to abject success. But if you look at the 20-something miles that separates Boom City, Bethesda, and Cherry Hills in South Baltimore, the gap is stunning.